Sean Thacker in FNAF 2 follows Mike, Vanessa, and Abby a year after the events of the first movie, trying to deal with the trauma they've gained as they just start to gain some more. It may not feel like it, but it has been 2 years since the first FNAF movie, which is really crazy to think about. We waited 8 years for that movie, and that's already been 2 years since it came out. Now, as someone who is a big fan of FNAF, I love the movie. The same can be said for most other FNAF fans. The same cannot be said for the critics, who weren't very nice to it, let's just say that. Which I do understand, as it was made just for the fans. So all the critics who understand it gave it a negative review, which makes complete sense. If I also didn't understand the film, I wouldn't give it a positive review. But as a fan, I did understand it. And so because of that, I thought it was a factually good film. Because despite its plot holes, and things that just don't really make a lot of sense, I understood it because I already knew all of it. I could fill in those plot holes, and those things that just generally don't make a lot of sense. But the critical response did not matter, because we made a whole lot of money. So now with FNAF 2, I was interested to see how the feedback of the first one would affect it. Would they try to make it more enjoyable for general audiences, and critics who don't know a whole ton about the games would be scared in the first film, which was a common complaint? Would it get bogged down on the lore? It'd be another example of a failed video game movie adaptation. These are things I was wondering walking into FNAF 2. So now I've seen Five Nights at Freddy's 2, it's pretty good. This film is definitely overall weaker than the first film. I may be a big fan of FNAF, but I'm a filmmaker first, and I can start to see the cracks coming through. But as I said, I overall think it's still pretty good and I enjoyed it. Then just like with the first film, if you didn't like it, if you're not very knowledgeable in this franchise, you're still not going to like it. The first one may have just been for the fans, but that can especially be said with this one. I don't think the tomato score should be that low, but I'd be lying to say I understand why. There are many plot holes, things that just don't make a whole ton of sense. Things are just kinda confusing. If this was just a film on its own without any games, I probably wouldn't like it very much. But because I do have the knowledge from the games, these aren't plot holes. These things do make sense. It's not kinda confusing. But again, like I said, this is a drop from the first film. Even me as a massive FNAF fan, I can't ignore some of the poor filmmaking in this film. But again, for the most part, I still really enjoyed it. And if you're a fan, you like the first one, then you're gonna like this one. I love how this film, while yes, incorporates more lore for the games, simplifies some of it. I say some, but for the most part, I think the lore is pretty understandable. I also like how they changed some of the lore to better fit movie adaptation. Changes I thought were actually really good and I was all for. A lot of those being with the puppet. I've always thought that out of all the FNAF characters, the puppet was one of the ones that would make the best horror movie villain. I think that's definitely the case here, as the puppet is actually pretty creepy. I would say this does a lot of the scares from the first film. They do push that PG-13 rating. I still think it needs to focus on something actually scary, and just focus on spooky ambience and atmosphere, but this is definitely an improvement on the spooky factor. I like how the characters in the first film are developing, and we of course have some new characters. One of those being Skeet Ulrich's new character, Henry. Fans will know this is William Afton's business partner in the games. The movie doesn't do a great job of explaining this. I do think he was pretty underused. Like, his scene was so brief it didn't leave much of an impact. I'll have more to say about him when we get spoilers. I did love Wayne Knight's character. You probably know him from films like Jurassic Park and Toy Story 2. He plays a teenager despite not being a huge character. He definitely has an impact and is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And of course, to no surprise, the animatronic suits look fantastic. The G-Ones company has hit out of the park once again. They look like they've been pulled straight out from the games, and are beautiful. I will say the toy animatronics definitely get the majority of the spotlight. They're new, they're shiny, they have voice actors. I'll get into that in a bit. But they definitely do overshadow the withered animatronics, which really only get one scene. It is a really good scene. It incorporates the gameplay mechanics from the second game, which I thought were implemented really well, so even though we didn't get much of the withers, they were still pretty darn good. And the voice actors for the toys, Kelly Goff as Toy Freddy, Megan Fox as Toy Chica, and Matt Pat himself as Toy Bonnie. I thought they all did pretty well. Honestly, if I didn't know they were voicing these characters, I wouldn't have known. I also think Faz Fest was really underused. It's basically in the universe a Nostalgiaville celebration of Freddy's. It's definitely supposed to be a reflection on the fans of the franchise, which it works well as, but it's also barely in the movie, to a point where it's interesting why it was even included. Now, it may serve as the planting of a seed or something in the third film. I'll talk more about that when we get into spoilers. Oh boy, and that ending. It was 100% fan service, it was ridiculous, but I do not care. I never thought I'd see that ever in this franchise happening, and I loved it. So at the end of the day, FNAF 2 was not loved by critics, but I don't really think it matters. because this is one out of only 2 movies where the audience in my theater audibly reacted while it was happening on screen. The other one being Avengers Endgame. Critics are gonna hate it. Fans are gonna love it. That's just how it is. So if you're a fan of FNAF, I recommend it. But if you just can't get in this franchise, then I don't. But as for me, Wiz, I had my problems with it. I still overall really enjoyed it. But now we're getting to spoilers. Let's start off with Easter eggs. The plushie makes the hor noises. They gave my theater the biggest laugh. It was so unexpected but really funny. Shadow Bonnie. It was a blinking you'll miss it moment. In fact, when I watched it, I didn't even notice it. The return of Doug was glorious. Not really an Easter egg, but when Mike decapitated Balloon Boy, it was glorious. Everyone's wanted that since 2014, it was hilarious. And the biggest of all, Circus Baby. If there was one thing I was expecting to see in this movie, it wasn't that. For one, the animatronic looks fantastic. Second, the lore implications of the movie universe, because this one thing are insane. If the movies continue to go in this direction, then it's taking decades of in-game lore and making it happen all at the same time. I think it's pretty clear Baby is possessed in this scene. Now the question is, who? Because in the games it's Elizabeth Afton, which is pretty much the movie equivalent to Vanessa Afton. So we know it's not Vanessa, obviously, so unless Afton and their child we're not aware of yet, we don't know who is possessing Baby. I would like for me to have more kills, not just because I want to see a whole bunch of murder, but I think if the toys start going at a massacre at Fast Fest or something, it really would make them feel more threatening and intimidating, really show how much the stakes are raised. And the reveal of Michael Afton. As soon as this guy showed up, everybody already knew who this was. But to be fair, I don't think it was supposed to be a huge plot twist. I mean, if it was done pretty darn badly. But as the character goes, I'm liking him. Freddy Krueger is a great evil face. Despite not being the film that long, I like what I've seen so far. And again, that ending. The FNAF 1 animatronics showed up at the last second and showing 20 animatronics, endgame portal scene style. Like I said, it was ridiculous, downright stupid, but geez, I love it. It is kind of when the film ends on a cliffhanger. It says that Vanessa can be possessed by the puppet. The post-credit scene sets up Springtrap, can't wait to see that. The second post-credit scene reveals in the movie universe that Henry is Mike's business partner. Mike will probably end up teaming with him to save Vanessa and defeat Springtrap. Maybe or maybe not a redemption for Michael. Fast Fest has been established. That there is an audience that will show up to install your Freddy Fazbear celebrations. So that shows there is an audience for Fazbear's Fright, which is where the third game takes place, and I'm excited to see. Hopefully it all sticks to landing, and we get a nice little trilogy that I'm sure will have some sort of little tease for future FNAF movies. Also, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Bye guys for now, bye, it's your Thacker.